A month-long tussle, midnight political drama is how Imran Khan was sacked as the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Now remember, voting was held on the no-confidence vote finally against Khan. The National Assembly passed a no-confidence motion with 174 votes. That now makes Imran Khan the first Pakistani Prime Minister to be voted out. PTI members staged a protest outside the Assembly when the voting was underway. The National Assembly Speaker and his deputy resigned just before the voting started. Later, the PMLN leader Maryam Nawaz Sharif reacted to the vote and said the nightmare for Pakistan is over. The National Assembly will now meet again on Monday afternoon and elect the new Prime Minister of the country. The nomination for the same, however, will have to be filed today itself by 2 p.m. But the reports coming in, Imran Khan has vacated the Prime Minister's official residence, and that happened even minutes before he lost the vote.
174 members have recorded their votes in favor of the resolution. Consequently, the resolution for vote of no confidence against Mr. Imran Khan, the Prime Minister of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, has been passed by a majority of the total membership of the National Assembly. आज प्लीज तशरीफ रखें ऑर्डर इन द हाउस। आज पाकिस्तान की ऑपोजिशन के सारे कायदीन यहाँ बैठे हैं और शिद्दत से मियां नवाज शरीफ साहब की कमी महसूस हो रही है।
मैं आज ये फैसला करता हूँ और मैंने फैसला किया है कि मैं स्पीकर के ओहदे पे मजीद नहीं रह सकता और मैं अपने ओहदे से इस्तीफा देता हूँ। मैंने अपनी ज़िंदगी का बहुत लंबा अरसा अपने लीडर इमरान खान के साथ गुजारा। 26 साल से मैं उसके साथ रहा। मैं स्टूडेंट लाइफ से, जब मैं स्टूडेंट था उस वक्त मैंने तहरीक इंसाफ ज्वाइन की और उस वक्त जब मैं शौकत खानम कैंपेन चली थी मैं उस वक्त उसके साथ था। मैं चूंकि इस वक्त एक कौमी फरीज़ा है और सुप्रीम कोर्ट का एक फैसला है, इसको मनोअन तस्लीम करते हुए उसकी जो प्रोसीजर है उसको आगे बढ़ाते हुए मैं जो पैनल ऑफ चेयरमैन हैं आया सादिक साहब वो बाकी इजलास वो चलाएगा और जो इसकी लीगल वो उसके मुताबिक करेगा।
इस शेर के साथ मैं अपनी बात ख़त्म करूंगा कि जब अपना काफिला अज़्म व यकीन से निकलेगा, आप और मुस्कुराएं इसलिए कि मुस्कुराने के दिन है ये आज। जब अपना काफिला अज़्म व यकीन से निकलेगा, जहां से चाहेंगे रास्ता वहीं से निकलेगा। वतन की मट्टी मुझे एड़ियां रगड़ने दे, मुझे यकीन है चश्मा यहीं से निकलेगा।
मैं सर दिसंबर से मुस्कुरा रहा हूँ, फिर मैं फरवरी में भी मुस्कुराता ही रहा और मैं कहता था कुछ बड़ा होने वाला है।
All right, now today morning, remember, with reactions that are coming in, I'm also now joined by former diplomat. He's been former ambassador for India as well, Prabhu Dayal. Prabhu Dayal, as you're listening and watching what is unfolding in Pakistan, do you think what happened yesterday night was actually something that Pakistan could have avoided? Because, of course, Imran Khan knew he doesn't have the numbers. He tried whatever in his capacity to stall it. Eventually, it also looked very degrading for Pakistan of how situation unfolded midnight.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It was degrading for Pakistan in the manner that the situation unfolded. Imran Khan wanted to hang on to the chair of the Prime Minister by using whatever means he could think of, even though these were devious and against the norms of a democratic system. So I think that what happened ultimately, that the vote of no confidence was carried as expected and a new government will be installed, now gives Pakistan a chance to change the unfortunate course of events that was being followed in the last few weeks. And the damage to Pakistan's democratic system that was inflicted by Imran Khan will hopefully now be undone.
Now, because you also have a fair good understanding of Pakistan and its politics, how do you see the next few days? Do you think Shehbaz Sharif could prove to be, apart from coming out of the shadow of his own brother Nawaz Sharif, a good news for India? Do you think India needs to watch out as a front runner? Shehbaz Sharif may become now the next Prime Minister of Pakistan?
Well, you've asked more than one question. First, how do I see the course of events in Pakistan?
Yes.
In the near term, the opposition parties who had worked to oust Imran Khan's government will hold together.
Okay.
And they will try and ensure that no ground is yielded to Imran Khan. But in the longer term, I see some problems. And that is because of the fact that the PMNL, which is headed by Shehbaz Sharif now, and the PPP, which is Bilawal Bhutto's party, and which was at one time headed by Benazir Bhutto and later by her husband Asif Zardari. Now, these two parties, the PPP and the PML, have worked at loggerheads all along in the past. So it might be a little difficult for them to work out an agenda of cooperation in the longer term. So we could see political differences crop up between these two leading parties, and that could cause some upheaval on the political scene, and therefore it is difficult to forecast what might happen in the longer term. Now, another question which you asked was regarding Pakistan's relationship with India under Shehbaz Sharif.
Correct.
Well, you know, Shehbaz Sharif will only be able to exercise influence up to a point. As we all know, the real power center in Pakistan is the army. And the army has historically played out an agenda of proxy war against India. It has been waging proxy war. It has trained, financed terrorists and infiltrated them across the border. This has been the policy for a long, long time. I was posted in Pakistan under Zia-ul-Haq, and despite all the lovely things that he used to say, this was the policy that he tried to perfect and implement. So, being a Pakistan watcher since a long time, I am constrained to point out that I do not expect a sea change in the policy which Pakistan pursues towards India, and therefore we have to be on guard.
Now, you know, what you've been mentioning is very important, and that is what will lead me to the next question. What do you think, according to your assessment, went wrong with Imran Khan? Because it appeared that he was on good terms with the army and the I side. Many believe that he was actually propped up by the Pakistan army. But then 3 years later, there seemed to be a tiff. He seemed to be taking decisions not exactly how the army or the establishment of that front really wanted him to. What do you think led eventually and finally to the ouster of Imran Khan, who was actually set to complete his tenure in a short while?
Well, there were many factors. First of all, he didn't try and tackle the main problem which faces Pakistan, and that is poverty. He had come with the promise of a new Pakistan, but he hardly worked to change the direction of things in which Pakistan had been moving all along. In other words, there was hardly anything done by him to change Pakistan's dependence on overseas money, particularly the money that Pakistan had started getting from China. Now, this sort of debt has been the biggest factor behind Pakistan's present economic mess. Imran Khan, when he made promises of a Naya Pakistan, should have worked to reduce Pakistan's dependence on China, but on the other hand, he only ended up by increasing that dependence.
Yes.
So, in my view, Imran Khan's biggest failure was to change the track record of Pakistan's economy, and because he was not able to undo the economic mess in which Pakistan finds itself, he was doomed to failure.
And my final question, Ambassador Dayal, would be that there could be general elections soon enough. According to the Election Commission in Pakistan, as told to the court there, they are ready for it in October. But do you think Pakistan needs to have a solid government, an elected government as soon as possible, and that would be good both for Pakistan and of course for India if it has a stable government in a neighboring nation?
Well, there are many things that Pakistan needs to do. Yes, of course, it has to find ways to form a stable government. A stable government is in Pakistan's interest, and I think, yes, it is in our interest too. Secondly, that stable government should move very, very strongly against the terrorist organizations which operate from Pakistan.
Yes.
Pakistan has been on the Financial Action Task Force's grey list for a long, long time, over 3 years. And that has also impacted Pakistan's economy. Now, recently, there have been some steps taken by Pakistan which appear to be in the right direction. Hafiz Saeed has been found guilty by a Pakistani court and he has been put in jail. But Pakistan needs to do much, much more. What is happening to the terrorist outfits which act quite freely from Pakistan's territory? So there have to be meaningful steps taken against terror organizations. Thirdly, there has to be a review of Pakistan's policy towards India. You know, India had been trying to work with Pakistan to help the people of both countries. But Pakistan has prevented SAARC from functioning normally. Pakistan had signed a free trade agreement with India but went back on it. A free trade agreement with India would have helped the people of Pakistan. So there has to be a revival of the idea of regional cooperation.
Okay.
There has to be a review of Pakistan's policy towards India, because if Pakistan pursues this policy of unremitting hostility towards India and of continuing to wage proxy war against us, I see no end to a change in Pakistan's overall policy. And money which should go to the betterment of the common man in Pakistan will instead be utilized for funding terrorist activities, which will be unfortunate.
I think you've made some very important points here. Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, I appreciate you joining us and giving us your expert views. And it is important that the Indian government also will know what precisely is needed to eventually watch out what's been unfolding in Pakistan. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for giving us your time today morning. But it's only a developing story because it was a midnight high-octane drama that ended Imran Khan's regime after a month-long battle. The Pakistan National Assembly will convene on Monday again and elect the next Prime Minister of Pakistan. Here's a special report on what actually happened and led to the exit of Imran Khan, cricketer turned Neta and a sacked Prime Minister. Rumour of sacking mighty Pakistani Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa. Prisoner vans outside the parliament. Prime Minister sacked. Pakistani Awam witnessing one of the most dramatic nights in their country's history. The chain reaction started during the day after the assembly session commenced. But the political mayhem peaked after dusk. United opposition demanded a trust vote by 8 p.m. but it did not take place. The clock was ticking, running a lot faster for Khan and his government. According to Supreme Court's order, no confidence vote was mandatory before midnight, otherwise Khan would face consequences. The next big development came from the Supreme Court. The Chief Justice instructed relevant officials of the top court to open the doors at midnight. Embattled Prime Minister Imran Khan held a key meeting with his cabinet, but nothing much could be done. Meanwhile, rumours started that Imran Khan is planning to sack the Pakistani Army Chief General Bajwa. But Imran Khan was fast enough to put the rumour to rest. Khan, who had no chance to survive the motion, said he will fight till the end. Security was beefed up Prisoner vans were called. For once it looked that Khan might be arrested. The petition was filed in the High Court to stop Imran Khan, Shah Mahmood Qureshi and Fawad Chaudhary from leaving the country. Around midnight, the final leg of the political tamasha began. Just ahead of the vote, Assembly Speaker and his deputy resigned. Opposition party leader Ayaz Sadiq to preside the Assembly session. Imran's loyal lieutenant Fawad Chaudhary also knew the time was up for Khan, and he was correct. Khan became the first Prime Minister of Pakistan to be voted out. National Assembly passing a no-confidence motion with 174 votes.
Consequently, the resolution for vote of no confidence against Mr. Imran Khan, the Prime Minister of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, has been passed by a majority of the total membership of the National Assembly.
Shehbaz Sharif, who is likely to be the next Prime Minister of Pakistan, expressed his thanks to the members.
शुक्रिया अदा करते हैं कि अल्लाह ताला के फजल करम से उनकी जदोजहद, उनकी कुर्बानियाँ आज रंग लाई हैं और आज दोबारा पाकिस्तान के अंदर आइन और कानून का पाकिस्तान दोबारा बना चाहता है इंशाअल्लाह ताला।
PPP chairperson Bilawal Bhutto Zardari welcomed the Awam to Purana Pakistan.
हमने selected करार दे दिया था और जो गैर जमहूरी बोझ ये मुल्क 3 साल से उठा रहा था, आज 10th April 2022, welcome back to Purana Pakistan.
The Pakistan National Assembly will convene tomorrow at 2 p.m. to elect the new Prime Minister of Pakistan. Imran played the last ball, as he said, but lost the most crucial innings of his political career. Bureau Report, India Today. In the broadcast now, I'm joined from Pakistan journalist Omar Altaf. Omar, just tell us briefly, basically, what exactly happened midnight. Many people who woke up today morning to realize Imran Khan has been now sacked, he's been voted out. What exactly happened even after 12 a.m. at night, the proceedings were on?
Finally, better sense prevailed before the day ended, and Imran Khan finally allowed a vote to take place, and that meant that he would no longer be the Prime Minister of the country because he had lost numbers games quite a few days ago. But he had kept on clinging to power, which was not very wise of him. He should have accepted defeat gracefully, and that would have been much better for the country and the polity in general. Now, what has happened over the last month or so in Pakistan has polarized the society. The society is deeply divided, and still it would take a healing touch from the incoming government for the country to be more politically stable. There are serious economic challenges, foreign policy challenges that need to be dealt with on a war footing, and over the past 2 months there has been a paralysis. The governance has been sidelined. The state issues haven't been dealt as the government was busy trying to find a way to survive. So the work is cut out for the incoming government.
So what happens now, Omar, in the next few hours? You know, when are we expecting the nominations? Do you think there will be nominations apart from Shehbaz Sharif, or can we considering him as the only front runner to become the next Prime Minister? And then what is expected tomorrow at the National Assembly when it convenes again, Omar?
I think the elections for the leader of House would take place on Tuesday, most probably.
Okay.
And now the opposition party, Imran Khan's PTI, they would most probably field a candidate, but it is very likely that Shehbaz Sharif would be the next Prime Minister, as he now commands the majority in the National Assembly, as all the coalition, all the other parties except for PTI have vowed to support him. So Imran Khan's couldn't complete his 5-year tenure in office, and there are still almost 16 months to go before Pakistan heads to a general election. But this government may call snap polls at a time of their own choosing.
Okay.
Yes, Pakistan could see early elections as well. But now what is...
Omer, just a quick question. What do you think will be the most important test, the first test for whoever becomes now the Prime Minister for Pakistan? What do you think are the urgent issues that Pakistan immediately needs to be dealing with the new establishment that comes in?
The Pakistani economy is in shambles. The foreign currency reserves are depleting.
Yes.
There is rising inflation, and so those are two of the most important challenges the incoming government would face. And it is very important that for them to be able to offer a solution, because they have come to a power at a very tricky juncture. And if they don't perform, that could lead to Imran Khan gaining political benefit out of it, with the polls imminent in possibly few months from now.
So of course, the country is also now bracing for fresh elections as and when that happens. But Omar, thank you so much for joining me today on this broadcast, and we wish well for Pakistan. Hopefully.